Hey everyone, so One Piece chapter 1045 just came out. And this was one of the best fight scenes we're probably ever going to get in One Piece. And it is one of the coolest fight scenes you'll probably see in anything ever. That is what I loved so much about this battle. That you can look throughout other manga, and yes, they might have better choreography on average than One Piece. But in terms of creativity, this type of battle is not something you're going to get in any other series. Right? So I think Oda really has to be applauded for just visualizing a fight like this. And I said before, right, that in my latest video, that this very possibly was the type of power that Oda always envisioned Luffy fighting with, and that the Gomu Gomu no Mi, simply being a rubber man, that was something that Oda actually had to dial Luffy back to, right? He had to nerf Luffy in a sense, because you can't really have a hero with this level of, cartoonish reality stretching ability right off of the bat, right? The protagonist needs to work to eventually get to that point. So rubber was the initial starting square one ability that Oda kind of nerfed Luffy down to start the story. But we know from SBSs that Oda has always said that he gave Luffy rubber supposedly because he wanted to give Luffy the most ridiculous ability. Now we know in the manga that this is what Oda considers the most ridiculous ability. The rubber fruit was a stepping stone to get to this, the true vision of Luffy. I mean, Oda's been talking recently about how much he wants to draw Luffy. He was hinting at it. He was like, pay attention to the main character. I'm hoping that I can draw him well. This has to be what he was talking about, and this is very, very possibly the initial vision he had of the hero of One Piece. This cartoonish, joyful, carefree, free-spirited, trickster, jokester of a hero who goes up against these seemingly undefeatable, big, bad, dark, evil foes throughout the world and keeps taking them down one after another in his own style, in his own way of fighting. So no matter what you think about this fight, maybe it's not your cup of tea, and I 100% understand if you prefer something a little more, maybe more Snake Man versus Katakuri-esque or Luffy versus Lucci-esque, whatever. But you have to, hats off to Oda for just the creativity and the uniqueness behind this style of fight, right? Because again, this is something that we would only get in One Piece. This is a One Piece special. So overall, I love the fact that we got a full chapter dedicated to just this. I was not expecting that because I thought that, Oda was kind of, at least from last chapter, he had kind of already flexed a bit of Luffy's new abilities. So I thought that this chapter, I was thinking that we would get a little bit of Luffy versus Kaido and then cutting back to some other characters, etc. But no, Oda really, really if Oda's doing this, right, if he's turning Luffy's abilities into this, it looks like he really, really wants to showcase and have fun with it. So we got a full chapter of just Luffy in Gear 5th with the Nika Awakening, just basically showing off everything against Kaido. I mean, everything, Roadrunner effect in midair, right? Turning gigantic, which is something that people thought Luffy would eventually do, but just way down the line at the end of the series. But no, Luffy's breaking it out right now. Using Kaido as a jump rope. Eyeball stuff, eyes popping out of sockets, Luffy popping out of eyeballs. That's Oda's just going crazy with it. You have Trafalgar Law with one of the most bizarre panels ever of his eyes popping out of his sockets, but his facial expression not matching that cartoonish effect whatsoever. I mean, just the effects that this fruit has. Again, I said before and I'll say it again, it is not a broken fruit, right? Remember, let's not forget, Luffy was going toe-to-toe, blow for blow, pretty much almost exactly even with Kaido before this, to the point that we were robbed of a finale to find out who was actually stronger, right? So Luffy before this, I don't care what your headcanon is, what we were being shown on the page was that Luffy was going exactly toe-to-toe with Kaido when Luffy was in Snake Man, right? So Luffy was already right there with Kaido, right? And it's not as though now that he's got Gear 5th, he's invincible against Kaido, although it's starting to shift in that direction, but Kaido is still doing a good job, right? So I don't think that the fruit itself, this awakening, suddenly puts Luffy a million times stronger than, than any opponent in the world. I think that the fruit itself is very strong, right? But you can't forget that Luffy was already really, really, really close to Kaido before this fruit. This fruit is just giving him that extra boost that we already imagined that the Rubber Fruit Awakening would do this, right? So the ability is very cool, very imaginative, but by no means do I think it's broken, right? We have to keep in context, no matter what, that Luffy, even before this part of it, was already doing really, really, really well against Kaido, right? And it's not as though the battle is purely one-sided now that Luffy's gotten this fruit. awakening. Although, it does seem like, I mean, at least from as the chapter progressed, right? Kaido's catching on a little bit more. He's knocking Luffy around a little bit. But despite that, right, Kaido does a Boro Breath on Luffy. Luffy has this cartoonish, you see the completely ashy cartoon reaction, and then Luffy bounces right back. Kaido hits Luffy with Ragnaraku. Luffy has, again, this cartoonish, like, face stuck in a hole, has to pull it out type of reaction. You have Kaido, like, hitting Luffy, and Luffy has that sort of hammer cartoon effect. You know what I mean? When a character gets hit in the head, and then they, like, kind of scrunch down and wobble around like that for a little bit. Oda did the whole range of Looney Tunes effects that you can think of basically this chapter. Unless there's a lot more that I'm forgetting that he's going to break out next chapter. And the point that I'm really getting to is that while Kaido does seem able to still keep up with Luffy in battle during this, I don't know how much he's able to really hurt Luffy. Luffy, it seems like he's really like a cartoon character. And if you watch Looney Tunes whatsoever, if you've seen Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, if you've seen the things those cartoons go through, you know they're completely invincible, right? They don't die. They have to not die, otherwise they would probably face 10 deaths an episode, basically, if they did not have basically Toon versus durability. So it does look like Luffy's got a bit of that, right? The only thing that seems to be pulling him down right now is, I guess, his own level of stamina, right? His internal stamina, because Luffy is fairly tired, as we saw. But it does seem like he's able to kind of kickstart his heart, and he's very aware of that drum beat, and that is his heartbeat, basically, and he's just able to rev that. I don't want to make a One Punch Man reference here, but he's able to rev that engine back up. And I think at the moment there's, he's in it for... Okay, so it's a little tricky because it looks like at the moment he's still fighting purely at his peak, but it does seem as though one more big... I don't know if he's going to be able to bounce back from, like, if he gets taken out of this mode one more time. At least that's what it seemed like from when he was kind of, like, getting tired, turning into black hair Luffy again momentarily, etc. So it does seem as though this really is his final shot, unlike when he said with Gear 4th. For the record, I still think Luffy loses, and I'll be dropping a video on it next Tuesday, right? But I am in the moment really, really enjoying everything that we're getting to see Luffy do, and him in his highest spirits, him at his peak, etc., right? Kaido, by the way, also seems like the battle has really worn on him. Somehow people have been saying that Luffy's not hurt Kaido whatsoever over the course of this battle. I genuinely don't get it. Mini rant, which is just that people are so hesitant to say that Luffy's like Yonko level or whatever, that we've gone through this like 10 times at this point where Luffy gets advanced Conqueror's Haki and is clearly evenly clashing with Kaido. And he's splitting the sky, something that only Yonko have been shown to do. And you still see people saying, hey, Luffy's not Yonko level yet, right? Then we see Luffy going into Snake Man, right? And pretty much indisputably going toe-to-toe, blow for blow with Kaido, right? To the point that the fight had to be cut short without actually showing us a victor. You still see people being like, I don't know if Luffy's Yonko level. What about now, right? Luffy's literally flipping Kaido's entire reality upside down. And Kaido's the one who's kind of the punching bag. He's kind of the one who's like out of his depth at the moment, right? We'll see if he readjusts or whatever. But Kaido's indisputably the one who's out of his depth at the moment. And you're still going to see people saying, I don't know if Luffy's Yonko level yet. Look, come on. At this point, Luffy has a shot, not saying he'd win, but he has a shot, undisputably, against anybody in the world, right? It's an extreme difficulty fight against anybody in the world. And there's an argument that maybe Luffy is top 1, 2, or 3 or something like that. We don't know, but none of that is ridiculous at this point. Like, we have to drop that mentality that Luffy's always going to be, I don't know, this underdog that people are kind of like obsessed over. It's like, Luffy always has to be the underdog. It's like, this is ridiculous. We always knew he'd be the strongest in the story by the end of the day. Anyone who didn't think that is not reading Luffy's actual quotes throughout the story where he explicitly says that's his goal. So, get used to it, all right? That being said, I still think Luffy loses here, as I said. But the fight that's happening right now, I don't know. There's not much more to say on it other than extremely creative, it makes you feel giddy reading the chapter and just seeing Luffy fight like this. And it just feels so right. It just feels so right seeing this protagonist. If any protagonist made sense to have this type of ability, it's Luffy. So it just fits so perfectly. So everything that's happening right now, I love it. One last detail is that Luffy's hair is white. His clothes, I guess, are white. I did not expect that. I was completely on. We've had this before with many people believing for the longest time, myself included, that Kaido's devil fruit was red and that Kaido was a red dragon. It took some adjusting when we found out he was a blue dragon, right? Same thing I think is going to happen with Luffy, because I had the image in my head that Luffy has golden hair, etc. But, you know, the white aesthetic, I guess, that is a little more unique compared to, you know, existing final transformations such as the Super Saiyan, such as, you know, Naruto's nine-tailed form, etc. So, all that being said, watch out for my video next Tuesday, and I will talk to you all later. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe.